So you can see that stuff in the heart field. The information, not information field, the information transfers to the, just like programming a ROM chip, transfers to the heart of the child. And as an example, one of the final proofs of this is there was a man who absolutely hated the odor, the sight, and the taste of mustard, and got a heart transplant, and all of a sudden couldn't get enough mustard. And just by happenstance, the wife of the donor somehow got word to him that her husband loved mustard, and so he had the heart. That came along with it. Number of people were in essence SOBs, or were very tense individuals, and they got a heart from a man who was a very calm man, and all of a sudden their wife and their children didn't even know who they were. They were a completely different person. That information was encoded in there, and when the nerves were sewn together and some of them grew back, that information got out of the heart, and it may well be that the magnetic field of the heart transmitted and the brain picked it up. I don't know that, but I know that we instrumented people's hearts and would let them see things that would excite them. The heart rate picks up, adrenaline's produced. Maybe what they see, anger, causes anger or fear. And if you anesthetize that part of the heart, then they have they don't have those fears and those angers and so forth. So that emotional information and some things like preferences in flavor or color, are transferred and transmitted in there. So it's very important to get the child up into a nurturing position. Children who were nurtured by both mother and father have both male and female components. Children nurtured by one or the other have only the one component of their emotional makeup.
And it's the first 16 days that does it?
Well, read the book. The greater part of it occurs in the first 16 to 18 days. And yes, maybe that's 30%. Maybe another 10% occurs in the next 50 days. Maybe another 10% in the next 180 days.
Okay, but very early on.
Very early on, you want to get that in there very early on.
Okay.
Is there any other tissue in the body besides the heart that acts like neurological tissue?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now you can, if you want, you can call, the pineal part of the brain, even though it doesn't do brain function. It's part of the brain. The pineal and pituitary are mostly melanin, a substance called melanin. Melanin, a type of melanin, makes the skin pigment, but they're a slightly different kind of melanin. And in my research, have found that the melanin in the pineal, which in Eastern medicine is the third eye, the seat of the third eye, is very, very, very good at picking up informational signals and adding a time content to them, thus subtracting a non-time content. And so it's always been attributed to clairvoyance and clairaudience and so forth. Those are signals that are taken out of a signal that appears to be everywhere, every when. It coheres that for the person, and they have certain abilities that they wouldn't have. The Tibetans drill a hole in the front of the forehead with a little rock drill, and then they poke a bamboo skewer in and manipulate the pineal to quote-unquote open the third eye. And what it does is it gives it a hole through the Faraday cage, speaking in science terms, and it makes a sensitivity by making a piece of scar tissue that opens up or opens the third eye or opens clairvoyance or clairaudience or remote viewing or remote influencing or a number of different things.
Isn't it true that fluoride deadens or hardens the pineal gland?
Absolutely.
And
But what it
since we have
mostly
fluoride
hardens-
so
I mean, that's well known.
Slows down the art the
I have,
the arteries.
yes, it'll do, yeah, it closes down the arteries. So there are many ways to sterilize water other than chlorine and fluorine. There are many ways, for example, we say, well, we use chlorine for tooth decay. You have a whole fleet of boats up and down the west coast of the United States and the east coast of the United States that can't fish anymore because we've killed all the fish, except there are bottom feeders called, I won't tell you the name of the fish, but there are bottom feeders. That is a fish that consists of 60% of the weight of the fish is liver, and about 60% of the liver is that particular fish liver oil, which contains a compound called Activator X by Price of the Price Pottinger Foundation of years ago fame. That oil, one drop put in a slice of bread eaten daily, and you have no caries whatsoever. There's no tooth decay. It eliminates tooth decay.
So
And they did
likewise,
this on thousands and hundreds of thousands of children in Europe after World War II.
and likewise, it doesn't. You can guard against hardening of the
And
arteries.
then you don't get the hardening of the arteries from the fluoride or the chloride. Now what happened was, and this is you know, I'll take I'll take the hit for this. Let's put it that way. It's my conjecture that the only reason we use chloride in the water was because the politicians have already spent all of the Social Security money. So you've got to have something there so that people die at retirement age. Then because of health care getting better, we had to have something else that made it happen even faster, so we put fluoride in the water.
Wow.
Because they could have gotten rid of tooth decay with an absolutely benign substance that we had a whole industry here that could go out and bring us back all we could ever use for the whole world, very inexpensively, and totally non-negatively in the body. But we didn't do that. Now, it's the reason that fish oil doesn't turn rancid is obviously because it's an antioxidant. It's the best antioxidant known to man, as far as I know. Price called it Activator X. It has a definite chemical formula. It could definitely be put out there. But it'd eliminate most of heart surgery. It would eliminate tooth decay. So it's not put out there because that isn't efficient in our system, in our capitalistic system.
When you
Well,
say
you're
price,
talking worldwide though as well, right?
Yeah, it'd be worldwide. I mean, like I say, we did it in Europe after World War II for years.
when
But
you
we
say
took that Activator X, by the way, was taken. There's a small amount of it in wheat germ oil.
Okay, now, Pete, one of the questions I had for you is that you had mentioned before that you didn't like the term consciousness field, and you would prefer the term information field. And I was wondering if you could explain why that distinction was made in your discussion.
Because to me, the consciousness field deals with consciousness, and the information field is mostly unconscious.
I'd like to double click on that and get more information on that link.
Well, the information field holds everything in the known universe. And there's consciousness. Each person has their own consciousness and their own consciousness field. It's like it's one of the characteristics of individuality, or I'll say information field. It's one of the characteristics of the information field that I think the best English word for it is soul or spirit. And the individual consciousness field of each person is very, very different. And the information field holds everyone's consciousness, while the consciousness field holds each individual's consciousness, or their, I guess we could say, spiritual characteristic, though I use spiritual in a very different method than it's used by religions.
My witness Daniel referred to spirit as the intellect. He said that the intellectual aspects of mind are non-local, that they're not happening in the nervous system at all. They're in the field where those cognitive processes take place.
I absolutely agree with that. They're definitely non-localized. They're in the consciousness field, which is not localized with the person whatsoever. It's everywhere and every when.